Hey everybody, it's Tough. So here we are at the beginning of the new mod tutorial. There's a few places we could have started, but I figured you just got some parts in from the mail and you probably want to mess with your nice new shiny parts, so no pun intended. Well, maybe a little bit. What we've got are the 3D printed parts. You've got your stick cup, the hat. This is a dimpled hat. The dome, and we've got a stick here. This is the Alps, that Alps stick. Tools you're gonna need: the X-Acto knife, some sandpaper would also work. A small thin bladed knife would also work, and optional but handy is some silicone oil. Try to avoid anything that's corrosive. Lithium grease probably would also work pretty well here. So I'm just gonna move those guys off to the side. So what we're doing first, and I'm gonna split these up into many smaller tutorial videos because there's a lot of steps here. Instead of just having like 2 or 3 monolithic videos, I'll try to keep logical steps nice and short and sweet, and that is going to generate more than a few videos, but that's the nature of the beast. If you're DIYing this, you're probably used to that sort of thing. Anyways, so the goal here is to get the hat, the stick hat, onto the stick and get a nice dry fit. Make sure all these parts are fitting together well. The reason why we need to do this is because the hole on the bottom of the stick hat that goes on the top of the stick shaft here, this hole is to spec according to the data sheet for the stick, but the way that this material is printed, it leaves a sandpapery type finish. That's the wrong way of saying it. It's not smooth. It's somewhat rough, and the fit is already really tight, and so that added friction of that surface texture makes it really hard to get in, and you want to avoid breaking the button on the stick. So like when you push down on the shaft, it pushes down on top of a button, and if you put too much pressure on it, you'll break the button. So we don't want to break the button while putting the stick hat on, so we just need to clean out some of that material. And the way that I've found to do that, let's see if I can get this hat off without cutting myself. That always scares me a little bit. So like I said, so sandpaper would also work. You'd have to fold it up to get it in there. A small bladed knife would also work. I find this X-Acto knife to work pretty well. So all you're doing is just getting the blade in flush against the walls and just scraping that texture off all 4 sides. So in there, it doesn't take a whole lot. You'll feel it resist and be rough on that texture, that rough sandpapery texture, and then it'll give and be smoother. You know you're doing it right when you pull the blade out and there's some material on there. And you can also look inside and see where they haven't. Wow, that's not. Yeah, that's better. You can see kind of where their coloring, their dye has been scraped off, and it's the white. This material is white, and then they dye it black or dye it whatever color you want. So you can even see some of the texture there on the outside. It's pretty rough. So I've already done some scraping. There's some more on that side I can get. Can I do it this high up? Will the camera focus on it? Kind of, sort of. So you're just getting it in there and just using the blade to scrape that texture off. And then at this point, if you have some oil, I've already oiled it, but I'll show you a little bit. You don't want a ton of this. I'm gonna move this so I don't cut myself. There we go, that's a lot better. You're just getting, I'm such a noob at this. Focus for me, there we go. Cat hair. you're just getting a tiny little bit bloop, bloop, bloop. I mean, you don't want to like flood the surface so it gets down on the mechanism. Just a little bit on there, and just rub that stuff around. And the goal should be, I mean, you're gonna want some pressure on this. You want it to be somewhat tight, but not so tight that it requires, come on, please. Focus on me. Focus. You don't want it so tight that you have to push down super duper hard, but you also do want it tight enough that you don't need glue. But I mean, you see it went in pretty good, and there's a little catch. You see that raised bit on the stick shaft right there? It'll stop there. So that went in pretty easy, but I mean, it's not coming off. It's not sliding off. So that means that we don't have to glue it down, which is awesome. So anyways, that's on. And I'm just going to put this in. So you see you've got 3 holes on one side, 3 holes on the other side, and then those line up with the legs on the pots, on the potentiometers. So let's just see. I can seat this down in there. It may take me a moment because you can't really see inside. I had it wrong. That's why. And it should slide right in, assuming you get the orientation of the legs right. And the idea, you'll know what's right, is when the top of the stick body is maybe about 1 millimeter or so below the lip of the cup, and you should see the legs poke through the bottom. So there's the 4 grounding posts, or the 4 posts, support posts of the stick body. These 2 bigger holes are the little plastic nibs on the bottom of the body, and then the potentiometer legs themselves. Those 4 holes are for the button. This stick, I have removed the button so that I could do this test. So this is just kind of an extra throwaway stick for me, but yours will have all 4 come through. And when I do the tutorial video on soldering this, wiring this, oops, that's not centered, I'll use the actual stick for this guy. You'll see that come through. But anyways, now let's get the dome on there. Boom. So push that down. There's no glue on the bottom of the stick body yet, so it might move around a bit. But the idea is that you've got this nice enclosed surface now, and it only contacts when you hit the edge of the dome. Perfect. That's perfect. That's a perfect fit. All right. And so there you go. That's getting the hat on and doing your initial dry fit with your brand new parts. This is the first thing you want to do. I mean, we could have disassembled the unit first, but whatever, shrug. This is fine. I will probably continue. Next will be wiring. And then somewhere in there I will do a video where we go over the Shapeways store and I show you the parts that actually might be next, because I need to get these up for you DIYers, because Shapeways takes 1 week to 2 weeks to print and mail these out to you. Anyways, there you go. This is what it should look like for you. If you got this far, then we can proceed with wiring next. All right, thanks guys, good luck.